Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to an unboxing for Disney Villainous, Despicable Plots, the brand new expansion. This is the Target exclusive packaging. It's a slipcover on there, which there's kind of like it's torn. Ended up ripping it to get it off. Just so if anyone is curious, I'm not the only one that's had this problem. The slip cover for this is on really tight. So if you want to keep this, you have to be very careful trying to slide it off. I wasn't that concerned, so I just kind of tore it. Otherwise, this is what the normal one will look like. It's the brand new standalone expansion for the Villainous games. If you're not familiar with the Villainous games, you can check out all my other videos. But essentially what it is you take control of one of the various villains from Disney movies, and you are trying to complete their goals or tasks that they would have done in the movies. Now, it's not to say you're trying to, actually, I guess win isn't the correct thing. You're doing what they do in the movie up, essentially to the point where it gets to, the turnaround where the hero would win. And it sounds kind of odd, but so, for example, here we have our three villains in this set. We have Lady Tremaine from Cinderella, Gaston from Beauty and the Beast, and the Horned King from the Black Cauldron. So Gaston, who's our cover picture, his goal in the game is to complete 8 challenges to trying to be impressing Belle. So he is not trying to be So your goal is to try and do this stuff to impress Belle. Not kill the beast and wed Belle, because that's not what happens in the movie. In the same way, Lady Tremaine has a goal of she needs to get one of her daughters, Griselle or Anastasia, to the ballroom to meet the prince. And again, it's not her trying to do something outside of the movie, like defeating, she's doing stuff up to that point where in the movie she gets her daughters there, but then Cinderella after that point, and then Cinderella comes. Another good example, not in this game, would be Hades from Hercules and one of the other sets. He needs to get the Titans to Mount Olympus. And again, it's not him trying to beat Zeus or beat Hercules and rule rule the world, or dethrone everybody. It's just, this is what he does up to that point in the movie. So you're just trying to, that's why everyone's always in these games well, what about this character? What about that character? Except you have to they had to figure out a way to make the character playable to achieve their goals that they do in the movie. Jafar needs to get the lamp and defeat Aladdin, because he does that in the movie, but it's not, he's not going any farther than that. But anyhow, so that's what makes these games really cool. Another really awesome, these are all standalone or mix and match games. You play as the villain in your own little board world, your own little area, and then each player is trying to play cards on their turn, do different things to achieve their goals. And the only way you're really interacting with your opponents is you play fate cards, which are the heroes, which are the good characters in it. So again, for Gaston, you'd be playing cards like Belle, Beast, Maurice, Cogsworth, Lumiere. You play them, you play another player's heroes on that player to try and mess them up or slow them down so that you can keep achieving your goals, but then you're trying to just play a card to mess up theirs. But you're not actively every single turn playing a card on someone else's board, or you're not playing stuff on your board that's going to affect the other players. So it makes it kind of a neat thing. You're kind of trying to figure out manage your own goals with someone occasionally throwing a little hindrance at you. And then what's mix and match is because I can play as one of these villains, and I can take one of the villains from the first set, Prince John, and I can take Carla Deville from the other set, and we can have 3 players playing against each other. or you can buy any of the expansions and just play. Because you only need at minimum 2 players. I would always recommend at least 3, just because of the fate aspect of targeting other players. Because if you only have 2 players, and you're always, it's like, okay, I'm going to target you, I'm going to target you, I'm going to target you. So at least having 3 players gives you some options. So we have a bunch of cool stuff to go through. So we have a very, very great instruction booklet. And every instruction booklet is laid out the exact same, except they change the cards to match whatever set you're talking about. So it's going to show off, what we have, our components, we have our movers, we have our boards, we have our different decks, a bunch of different tokens. Here's how the game is laid out. Different stuff, like 8 really walks. Some have locked tokens, because every board's a little bit differently. Your realm is basically anything you play in your side. Like this is showing like a middle of a game example. And then on your turn, you have options. Every turn you have to move your character, your mover piece, and that determines what you can do on that turn. And when we get to the board, I'll go into that a little bit more. So you get to perform different actions based on whatever symbols are on your board in your realm. And at the end of your turn, if you have less than 4 cards, you drop to 4 cards. So presumably most turns you'll spend at least 1 card, you'll play at least 1 card. There are other options that let you discard more cards. So if you find yourself not using that or looking for specific cards, you're going to want to discard so you can draw more cards quicker. Different actions are the ability to gain power. Power is essentially like your money, your currency in the game. It's what you use to play more cards. You play a card. Depending on your actions on the board, and we'll look over this, you could potentially play a card, activate a card, so you can use a card's special ability, move an item or ally card, move a hero card. You can use a fate, which we talked about a little bit before. Vanquish, which lets you defeat heroes, in case you need to get them off your board, to get them out of your way. Some have you just need them out of your way because they're preventing you from doing certain actions. Sometimes you need to get rid of them for your condition. Like Scar needs to defeat Mufasa to be able to do anything. Or they might actually just straight up be preventing you from winning the game unless you defeat that character. They might be like, you can't do anything unless you get rid of that character. And then discard cards. It's fairly simple. So we have a couple different card types. We have effect cards, which are essentially like one-time use. Play it, does its thing, goes away. Allies, these are the henchmen and helpers of the villains. Like they're showing Lucifer helping out Lady Tremaine. So these guys come into play. They can either have power or strength here. They'll help them defeat other heroes. Or they might be someone necessary to completing the goal, like I previously mentioned, the Titans. Or in this game, the Horned King needs to have his Culdron born out. And then there are heroes, which are in the Fate deck, and that's why they're a different color. And they're the ones trying to prevent you. They also have a strength amount, and that's how you do stuff. They're item cards, which usually just sit on the field. Or they might attach to a hero or ally, so they could be like anything from like a weapon to like a bell, depending on the game. A mushroom, who knows. And then conditions are special cards for each villain, which kind of represents an aspect of their personality or their driven goals. Like all the first couple of games, it was always like more of an aspect of a personality being like power, jealousy, madness. But now in this game, I see that they actually started expanding out. Probably because once you're 10 villains in, it's hard to come up with different one-word things that work. But what conditions do is they're powerful effects that are free to play, except they require your opponents to do something special. It could be if your opponent gains 3 power this turn, you can play this card for free and it lets you gain 3 power as well. Or it might be if they play an ally, you can play an ally for free. So they're really powerful effects, but they do rely on what your opponents are doing. So how powerful they can be might depend on who else you're playing against and how often they're doing it. Because if you have a card that requires, opponents to be playing item cards, and you're playing against 2 other villains that don't play a lot of item cards, your card's not very effective. If you're playing against 2 other players that are playing a ton of item cards, you're going to get to play this super quick. So it's a give and take. And then there's special cards with activated abilities. There are the other 4 sets. Worst takes it all, which is the core set. Ursula, Maleficent, Captain Hook, Jafar, Prince John, and Queen of Hearts. Wicked to the core, which is Evil Queen, Dr. Facilier, and Hades. Evil Comes Prepared, with Scar, Yzma, and Rakagin. And Perfectly Wretched, Carla Deville, Pete, from Steamboat Willie, Pete, and Mother Gothel. So what is really cool about this, about these games is, like, special expansions only have 3. They usually take one big name character that everyone was looking for. Everyone was waiting for Hades, everyone was waiting for Scar, everyone knows Cruella de Vil. Then they take a secondary character that most people are familiar with, like Evil Queen, Yzma, and I'd say Mother Gothel. And like this one, it's like everyone knew, like Ursula, Maleficent, Jafar, and I'd say Captain Hook, Queen of Hearts are kind of like maybe some of your secondary. And it's not necessarily, but they take some of the big name ones, and they take like a mid-named character, and then they always throw in like a third one, which is more of like if people are familiar with Disney, they're gonna know who they are. Like Dr. Facilier is from Princess and the Frog, which it's a lot of people's favorite movie. But it's also not one of your classic Disney movies, so not everybody's maybe seen it or knows it. Sort of the same thing with Ragadan, which is from The Great Mouse Detective. And then Pete from Steamboat Willie. Lots of people might know Pete from Kingdom Hearts games, or Goof Troop, that Pete, but this is the Steamboat black and white cartoon one. So you're a little bit more out there. And then this game did the same thing with having the Black Cauldron. Like, everyone knows Gaston. He was like a given. He was going to be coming. And Lady Tremaine kind of being a secondary. Cinderella is a big popular movie, but most people don't think of the villain when they think Cinderella. They think of the character Cinderella. And then the Horned King from the Black Cauldron, I bet you if you said Horned King, most people probably wouldn't even know what you're talking about. Alright, so that's all of those. Let's look at what else we have in here. We have our boards, which we'll look at that in a minute. We have little helper guides, which are cool. Each character has their own deck. Gaston, Lady Tremaine, the Horned King. We have a pile of different tokens. And then we have our special movers, which are the really cool things in here. Now, I got the Target exclusive, so the Gaston one's a special version, and that's what makes this the Target exclusive. Otherwise, all the cards, everything else in here are the exact same as if you bought this on Amazon, or if you find it at Walmart, or wherever else your game store might carry it. The only thing that's different is the Gaston mover. So the movers are really cool. They're little translucent representations of the character. So this is Lady Tremaine. So it's kind of representing her, a big poof of hair, high collar, her brooch. That way when you're playing her, you look at it and I'm like, oh, that's who that is. The Horned King. This one's actually a little bit more detailed than some of the other ones. Usually they're kind of like generic-y representations, but this one's actually kind of cool because it's the Black Cauldron with two skeletal hands coming out, holding up an actual face of the Horned King. I'm like, you look at this, you're like, yep, that's who that is. Like, there's not even a guess on what that is. And then we have a Gaston, who's just like basically Gaston's chest with some arrows. So that's pretty, like, it's pretty understandable. It's not like an abstract version of him. But if you got the regular version, it would be more one of these translucent colors, but like a brown. Instead of this bronze. The bronze was the Target exclusive. They did the same thing with the last set with Carla Deville. Normally she's half black, half white. But if you got the Target one, it was spotted black and white. So it looked more Dalmatian-y. Doesn't do anything different. Doesn't change the gameplay at all. All as it does is makes it look neat. I kind of like the translucent one better on this versus this bronze one, just because it fits all the rest of them. But I'm also a die-hard collector, so getting a cool, unique one is neat. So here's the boards. So they'll have a little quote on there. And don't I deserve the best? Gaston, his objective is to remove all 8 obstacles, just so you remember. So then you flip the boards open, and there are 4 different iconic locations from the movie: Belle's house, the cavern, the woods, and Beast's castle. And then they have all these different icons, and these are the icons that tell you what you can do on your turn. So on your turn, you might start in Belle's house, and then you move to the cavern, or you can move to the woods. You can move to any spot once per on your turn. You just can't move to the same spot twice. So that means you kind of bounce back and forth deciding what you want to do. And your different symbols are the 1 or the 2 is a little symbols that's gaining your power. So if you need a lot of power, you might be bouncing back and forth between these 2. But it also limits what else you can do on your turn. You have this action here, which is letting you play a card. So in each of his different realms, in his locations, he has the ability to play a card. But if you go to Beast's castle, he can play 2 on one turn. So you might be bouncing back and forth between some of these to gain more power, and then come here to play 2 cards on one turn. This is his activate ability, so if he has an item card out here that has that symbol, he can use that ability, but only if he's in this one spot. So that makes this spot important for that reason. Here's your discard, so if you need to empty your hand quicker, so he has a couple of those. He has his Vanquish, which lets you fight various enemies, so if he has to defeat the Beast, or Maurice, or whoever's in his way preventing him from winning, he can only do it from one of these 2 spots. So again, it's going back and forth depending on what you need to do. And then he also has 2 different fates. And these are what lets you draw a card from your opponent's fate deck and try and mess them up. And then now you can kind of see how they have a little shaded there. So when you play a card from the fate deck, it covers up this portion. So, for example, we have Gaston, we have Belle, just being one of her fate cards. Someone fated me, they chose Belle. They put this card in one of these locations. So now, not only is this no obstacles can be removed while Belle is in play, so if I don't defeat her, or remove her from the board somehow, I can't win the game. So I have to get allies with 2 strength to be able to vanquish her. Also, while she's there, if I put her in this spot, I lose access to this activate and this draw 2 ability. And since that's the only spot on my entire board that has the activate, if they cover this up, that makes this spot really hard to use. I can't activate anything. I lose 2 power, so if I land on this space, I only get the 2 actions. So, and that's what it is. And then, the only other option that's not on here is the ability to move cards around. Because some boards have the ability to move your cards, or move the heroes around. So that way you can maybe move a guy over, or you can move your guys over. So that's another just gameplay element. And that's his little spots there. Those are for his challenges. So if we go to our token bag, I know lots of the question is, and that was put in the booklet too, with the, like, during the, like, frequently asked questions, is, who's the best hero? Who's easiest? Who's strongest? Every character has their strengths and weaknesses. There are some that are easier, just in the sake that their goals are more straightforward, versus having more complex steps. But it doesn't necessarily make that character any easier or less easier to use. Like Gaston, he just needs to destroy these little beast challenge tokens. So he should sit on the board here, and then when he defeats him, he can remove them. And he needs to defeat all 8 of those. And there are cards in his deck that let him put them back into play for various reasons. So, like, his is very straightforward. I need to play a card that says remove an obstacle, and that's what I'm trying to focus on. Prince John from the core set has, his is just gaining, I think, 20 power. So that's his goal. You're just trying to focus on gaining 20 power. But then someone like Lady Tremaine here is going to have a little bit more difficult strategy. It doesn't mean that Gaston, being his just remove them 8 things, is going to be any easier to do, because you still have to find specific cards that allow you to remove them and do certain things, and you have to deal with other stuff. But it just means that it's a simpler goal. Just play cards, remove them tokens. Lady Tremaine, above all, self-control. She needs to marry Giselle or Anastasia to the prince. So you have Cinderella's room, music room, the castle, and the ballroom. So hers becomes a little bit more difficult because her ballroom starts with a lock token on there. So nothing can be played on this area, and you can't move here until you unlock this. So it has some good effects down here. It has nothing up here that can be covered, so it doesn't matter if there's heroes there or not. But you can't get there until you play a card that lets you unlock this. So right off the bat, she's only got 3 areas to use. Another thing that makes hers a little bit more difficult, just in the sense of what you have to do, is because you have to play the prince to unlock the ballroom, and then you have to play Anastasia or Gisella, and then you have to play a card that switches them to their ball gown form, which means you have to have that card and that ball gown form card. And then you have to move them to the ballroom, but you also have to keep Cinderella from appearing and doing that. So there's a bunch of different steps that make it less just straightforward than just being like, just collect this. So you have to play this card to play that card to do this card. So you have to do things in an order. So it makes it a little bit more difficult to figure out. So I mean, I'd say like they say new players should start with like Gaston. And usually I'd say the same thing, like new player in the core game should maybe pick, like there's usually one character as a more of a straightforward goal like that. And then some of them are a little bit more tricky to figure out how to do it. But it doesn't mean any character is better or worse than any other character. And they're all fun because they play differently. So Lady Tremaine has some, all the different stuff. So she has like, gets 3 power in that one. So this is one of the other icons we didn't see before. This is the move icon. Lets you move your cards around. So that means if you're in this location, you can move a character from this one to this one, or this way to this way. You can only move them one space at a time. But that's how you can move your 2 stepdaughters, your 2 daughters actually, Gisella or Anastasia. You can move them from one room over, try to get them to the ballroom, so that's a couple of different things there. So she has another one down here that lets her do it. Activate. We've seen all the other icons. She also does not, though, if you've noticed, she has no Vanquish action. She cannot vanquish anybody because there wasn't a whole lot of fighting going on in Cinderella, so it kind of makes sense. So instead, she has special trap tokens. So she plays these trap tokens, which are little locks. So basically, she's locking people in their rooms to prevent them from doing different stuff. And if we look at Lady Tremaine's deck, right away we have Cinderella here. It says, well, Cinderella is in play. all effect cards cost +2 power. Cinderella may not be played if Ball Gown Cinderella is in play. So it's just her special thing. And then we'll look at their little booklets, which will show a little bit more about each character. And then finally, we have the Horned King from the Black Cauldron. Arise, my messengers of death, our time has arrived. So have a cauldron born in each location. So they're special allies, you have to have one in each spot. So on the surface, that doesn't seem very difficult. But it's a little bit more complicated than that, because you have to have the Black Cauldron, then you have to play a card to flip it, so you use the power of the Black Cauldron. Then you have to, I think they're called armored ones. You have to have armored ones out, and then you have to play an ability to flip them to that. So you have to have a cauldron, flip it over to activate it so you can use its ability, and then you have to have a different ally in each location that then you have to spend a turn flipping over. So it takes a couple of turns to do that stuff, but it's not like super complicated. So we have Morva, Fairy Folk Kingdom, the Dungeons, and the Throne Room. As you can see, he doesn't have any special tiles on his, like Gaston. He doesn't have anything special. His is more of a normal layout board. And he has all the tiles we've seen before. So the only token tile play tile we haven't seen is the ability to move your fate cards around. So none of these guys can do that. Alright. That is our heroes. That's our villains. I guess it's subjective. Maybe they're heroes to some people. The other two types of tokens we haven't looked at is we have our power tokens. These are your currency you collect and spend. And then we have a fate token. And this is used for 4+ player games. It's so that way you can't keep targeting the same person over and over and over. So when you're playing with 4 or more people, every time you fate someone, they get this token, and then that means they can't be targeted again until somebody else gets fated. So that way, if like, oh, that person's getting close to winning, let's play hero cards on them and try and mess them up. That's fine, but that means the next turn, somebody else is going to have to take, even if like you have all the other 3 players, like, we need to keep playing cards to stop them or slow them down, or they're going to win, none of us will. So the other 3 villains all have to be like, alright, you play a fate on her, on player 4, I'll take one on this turn, then I'll have the token, then the next turn you can play one back on that person, then we'll play one back on you, and it has to go around that way, and that gets back to that 4th player. They can be like, I have the token, I'm not going to play anything, because that way you guys have to spend another turn. So it's just kind of like a game equalizer, so that you're not constantly picking on the same person. And that's the downside of having a 2-player game, because it's always you, me, you, me, you, me, so that you kind of feel like you don't want to fake as often because you feel a little bit mean doing it. But it's also part of the whole game. Because if you don't play fake cards, then you're not even attempting to stop the other player. Alright, so before we get to the decks, we're going to look over their little helpful guides. These are really cool. I love that they put these in all of them. So they each have their own little player guides. Plus we have the action symbols, which just quickly show so you can keep this in front of each player. And on the back of every single card, so there's 3, 1 for each player, and then there's 1 for each set every time. It just has a quick reminder of what that character's objective is. So if you're playing like whatever character on a set, you can have this sitting out for yourself or for whoever else to see if they want, just as a reminder on how to do it. And you can easily see here, like Gaston says, remove 8 obstacles. That's a quick summary of what he does. And then here's how you actually have to be doing it. And so that helps everybody else, because then someone could be like, wait, what's he doing over there? Why did he do that? Let me okay, I see what he's doing. Or like Hornton, he has the Black Cauldron out, but what do I need to do to stop him? So it's also a nice quick way for that. So these little guides are really fun because it's great to hand to a new player because it kind of gives you an idea of what you're supposed to be doing and how to do it. So like what his Gaston's goal is, his special setup with the tokens. So he needs to remove obstacles with effect. So like these cards are good at removing obstacles. Remove obstacles with allies. So you can use Monsieur d'Artec to help remove obstacles. So that's another great way to do that. You can remove more obstacles by vanquishing certain heroes. So there's there's a good reason to have some of the allies out once in a while. The heroes out. And then it's also saying, but beware that some of them also replace your obstacles. So there's like a hazard to watch out for. So it's a really fun thing because that way you're not jumping into it 100% blind. Like, I have a hand of 4 cards. What am I supposed to do? You can kind of be like, okay, it's telling me these cards are good cards, so I need to maybe save these. So here's Lady Tremaine's. Mary Giselle or Anastasia, her special setup. So like I said, why hers just a little bit more complicated, because it says to unlock the ballroom, you have to play the card going to the ball. And then you have to play one of the only 4 characters can be moved into the ballroom. The Prince, Ball Gown Cinderella, Ball Gown Drizella, or Ball Gown Anastasia. So you have to get them into there. And then here's, you have to play play certain cards to swap them. So you can swap one character for their ball gown version. For a Godmother interrupts you. Explaining how your traps work, because she can't remove cards. And then also explaining like the hazard of the glass slipper. So it's really helpful little tips. I always hand these out whenever I play. New person plays. I'm like, hey, keep this with you. So if you have a question, maybe you can kind of see what the card's supposed to be doing or why you would be using it. So like Horton King's objective: have a cauldron born in each location. He has a special setup. He has a special relic tile. You have to claim the Black Cauldron by doing a certain different ways to do that. You have to power the Black Cauldron, and then eventually you have to make your cauldron born. And then it's also mentioning some cards that could hurt you. So that is all those. Alright, let's look at our decks. So let's look at Gaston first. So every deck has the same number of villain cards and fate cards. They don't all have equal number of types of cards. Some of the villains some use more allies than others, some use more item cards, some use more effect. Some might not have one of the types. But regardless, they all have the same number of cards. So there's not any deck that has more or less cards than the other. Some might have, 5 copies of this guy, 4 copies of this guy, 3 copies of this card. Other ones might have 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So it just kind of depends on what character and what they need to do. What's really awesome about all of these decks is on the back, they have these cool designs that kind of show off the character. So for Gaston, of course, we have his hunting chair from the tavern. We have some horns. We have some torches for like the mob. We have some arrows because he uses his bow and arrow. And then we have the magic mirror that he uses to see the beast. And then they have the same picture on the Fate deck, just their white cards instead. So that way you know what deck it belongs to really quickly just by looking at them, besides that they're all different colors. All the regular ones. You don't mix these decks together, so that's not an issue there. You shouldn't ever really be mixing one deck with another deck for any reason. But yeah, I love those little things. Now let's look at all our different characters. So, of course, we're going to have LeFou. So up here's his cost. So he costs 2 power to play. He's an ally. He has 2 strength. It says when performing a Vanquish action in LeFou's location, all allies are returned to your hand instead of the discard pile. So what this means is if I'm fighting an ally that has any number of strength, I have to have allies, a hero with any number of strength, I have to have allies of equal or greater strength. And then they're both defeated when I perform a Vanquish action. So if Beast, for example, I think he has 5 strength, I have to have allies with at least 5 strength or more in the same location as him to be able to vanquish him. But then I have to discard all my characters. So what Fu lets you do is lets you put them allies back to your hand. So essentially it's letting you reuse your mob cards over and over. So that makes him pretty powerful. And then here we have Monsieur Dartet, who only has 1, but he doesn't activate. So if you're on the activate location, you can pay 2 power to remove 1 obstacle. We have the mobs, who cost 2. They have no special abilities, but they have 4. So they're quite strong for being cheap, for having no extra effects. And then we have the wolves, which are only cost 1, and they only have 1. Not very strong, but they gain 1 strength for every other wolves card in play. And it doesn't need to be at the same location, so you can spread them out, you can stack them together, and there are 4 of them. So if you get all 4 of them out, they're going to each be 4s. So that makes them as strong as the mobs, but you can have them spread out over the board. Here he has an item card. It costs a lot for 5 dozen eggs. When 5 dozen eggs is played attached to an ally, that ally gains 2 strength. So it gains him a bonus of extra strength, and he's got a couple of those. Hunter's Instinct. Defeat a hero with a strength of 3 or less. So this is a way you can defeat a hero without being on a Vanquish icon. You can, shoot them with his arrow. Helps get rid of some of them. Intimidating. Reveal cards from the top of your villain deck into a revealing ally. Place that ally in your hand, discard the rest. This is kind of like a risk-reward card. You need your allies out, you're going to have to do it, but you're also going to lose any other cards that might have been on there. So, depending on how badly you need that ally. We have Swoon. Replace 1 obstacle, then either gain 3 power or draw 3 cards. So you'll have to do one of your obstacles again, but that 3 power might help you play 1 or 2 more cards that help you defeat more obstacles again, or you could draw 3 cards, which could, again, give you more advantage to do more later. And the idea is just to be the concept behind this card is swooning, is getting distracted from going after Belle. That's why he's putting that back on there. Show me the beast. If the beast is in play, remove 1 obstacle. If Belle is in play, replace 1 obstacle. If both are in play, gain 2 power. It gives you some different options depending on when you want to play it. Time to follow me. Perform a move, item, or ally action. So that lets you move one of your characters for free. So that way you can move guys over to wherever the beast is, or where Belle is, or whoever you need to defeat. Belle is mine. Perform a Vanquish action. So he's got some options to perform actions without being on the spots, which is very Gaston. He's like, here are the rules. You need to be on this spot to do this. And Gaston's like, nah, I'm just going to do whatever I want, because I'm Gaston. Take me instead. Reveal cards from your fate deck until you find a hero. Then play that hero to Beast Castle. Remove 1 obstacle. So let's say remove an obstacle, but you have to play something. Temper, remove 1 obstacle. Coming to the light, remove up to 2 obstacles from a single location. Get out, remove 3 obstacles. It's kind of interesting that his things that remove obstacles are, lots of these are the beast actually going against him. Which makes more sense, because every time the beast acts more like a beast, that's going to put Belle more into, Gaston's favor, at least in, kind of like his eyes, sort of. Beautiful as Mead. So this is his condition card. During their turn, if another player takes 4 or more actions, you may play Beautiful as Mead and remove 1 obstacle token. So this could be very, very hard depending if they decide to perform all 4 actions or not. But what is really interesting about this is that he has 3 of them. Usually, in every other game so far, the conditions, they've had 2 different conditions, they have 2 of each. So they had 4 total, but they had 2 of one, 2 of another. Gaston gets 3 of the same. So that's actually a different, unique thing. I like that they keep changing up what they do all the time instead of always doing the exact same thing over and over. So here are the fate cards that can be played. Belle, no obstacles, can be removed while Belle is in play. Maurice, when Maurice is played, find and play Maurice's invention to Maurice's location. If Maurice is vanquished, remove all obstacles from Belle's house. So there's a good reason to get him out, because you can remove 2 obstacles at once. Beast has 6, not 5. When Beast is played or moved, move any allies out of Beast's location to any other location. When Beast is vanquished, move all obstacles from Beast's castle. Lumiere. When Lumiere is played, you may move a hero to a new location. Cogsworth. All other heroes in Cogsworth location gain +1 strength. Mrs. Potts and Chip. When played, you may move all heroes or fate items to a new location. Maurice's invention. All allies in the same location as Maurice lose 1 strength. That's a 4. Boy, that sucks. Magic Mirror. Find and play Beast. Shuffle the fate discard pile, including Magic Mirror, back into the fate deck. Oh, that's good. Yeah, resets everything. The Rose. Play the other fate card you have drawn. Discard the Rose and pick up 2 more fate cards. Play 1. Remove 1 obstacle. So why it says it like this is because when you fate someone else, you take the top 2 cards from their deck. You get to choose which one to use, because they might be an item that has to be equipped to a character, and they might not have characters out. Or it could be one card's better than the other, or one might hurt them more or less. So you get your options on what you want to do. So this one actually makes you play both of them. I've never seen so many books. Replace 1 obstacle. Saving my life. Replace all obstacles in a single location. It is you. Replace 1 obstacle in each location. Now you can tell some of these cards. Why, if another player plays this against Gaston, this could really mess him up in whatever he's trying to do. Massaging my feet. Replace 2 obstacles. Be our guest. Find a hero in the fate discard pile and play them to any location. We got 2 of those. So you can definitely see, like, Belle gets out and you can't remove obstacles, or a bunch of these that are putting them back into play. That could really prevent Gaston from doing what he needs to do, which is why other players want to play fate cards on them. Alright, up next we have Lady Tremaine from Cinderella. So Lady Tremaine, we have the key to lock everything. We have the Anastasia and Grisella, Lucifer. It looks like the ball. There's a teacup, and there's a bed. Not entirely sure, all of that. And there's probably your brooches in the corner. I haven't watched Cinderella in forever. So we have Grisella. Discard Grisella from your realm to play Ballgown Grisella. Grisella may not be played if Ballgown Grisella is in play. So you have to discard them to play them. We have Anastasia, the same effect. They have their Ballgown versions. So you must discard Grisella from your realm to play Ballgown Grisella. So you have to have the other one in play, which makes this a little bit more difficult. Anastasia. We have a Lucifer, 3 cost. Place a trapped token on a hero in Lucifer's location, so you can trap people. The Invitation from the King. When the Invitation from the King is played, unlock the ballroom. If the prince is not in play, find him and play him to the ballroom. Then you have an activate. Look at the top 2 cards of your fate deck, discard 1 and leave the other face down on the top. This lets you kind of, stack your decks if you're trying to avoid getting Belle out. Not Belle, Cinderella. Wrong movie already. You can look at that and be like, nope, we're going to put her back on the bottom. Okay, that's it. Those are the wedding bells. Gotcha. 3 wedding bells. Makes sense. Wedding bells activate. You can only be activated when the prince and either ballground Anastasia or Gisela are in the ballroom. And no glass slipper and plague. Activate this to win the game. So essentially you want to get this card out, leave it somewhere. That way when your conditions are met, you can play it. Lady Tremaine's cane. Oh no, the poor little guy. Remove the glass slipper. So that's how you get rid of that. There's lots of activate icons. The key. When the key is played, you may move Cinderella to Cinderella's room. Put a trapped token on her. This will stop her from using her ability and moving around. Move any hero to Cinderella's room and put a trapped token on them. You Little Thief. Defeat Cinderella or ball down Cinderella. So that's how you get rid of her. And that's cost 0, which is crazy. I said if. Shuffle your villain discard pile back into your deck and then draw 2 cards. I just want to... There's her giant hair. So you're trying to figure out the token. Yeah, this is how you can get them cards back in. Basically reshuffling your deck. Locked up from this famous meme. Everyone sees everywhere. During their turn, if another player takes a Vanquish action, you may play a Locked Up. You may place a trapped token on any hero in your realm. So this is her condition. So it costs free to use. It's pretty darn powerful. But you have to wait for someone else to play a Vanquish action. Which, like, Gaston's probably going to be playing a bunch. Some other decks, like... good example, maybe like Prince John, might not be playing as many Vanquish actions because his goal doesn't require him to vanquish anything. But like Scar, on the other hand, needs to vanquish other allies to gain points to win. He just needs succession points. So this would be really powerful if someone's playing Scar, might not be as powerful if someone's playing someone like Prince John. So she's got 2 of those, and then she also has Vicious Practical Jokes. During their turn, if another player targets you with a fate action, you may play Vicious Practical Jokes. Of the 2 fate cards chosen, you pick which card is played and where. Oh, so that's actually pretty cool. So if you have a sitting in your hand and someone fates you, you basically get to choose which one it is and where it goes. So that's cool, because you could choose something that might not even work, or an effect that might not actually do anything. So you can essentially negate their card. We have Midnight. Defeat all heroes in your realm. Find and play both glass slippers. This is kind of a double-edged sword, because you can't win when the glass slippers are out, but you defeat all the heroes, so you clean off the board. There's still a chance. Well, that's neat. So you play this one. You can choose to either move something or do an activate icon. Got 4 of those. We have Trapped. Place a trapped token on a hero in your realm. 3 of those, because there's a lot of trapped. Wait a minute. She has 3 condition cards? Okay, that's different. She has Locked Up, Vicious Practical Jokes. She also has, and one more thing. During their turn, if another player takes a discard action, you may play and one more thing. You may discard any number of cards and draw back up to 4. Oh, that's cool, so she gets essentially a free discard option. That's also different. Gaston only has 1 condition card. She has 3, which is very different than all the other games. I never go back on my word. Shuffle your fate discard pile back into your fate deck. Look at the top 4 fate cards and replace them in any order. So again, just stack your deck a little bit more. Jafar likes to do that as well. Just stack his deck. Alright, so now let's look at her heroes. Her fate card. Cinderella, which you've seen before. The Fairy Godmother. When Fairy Godmother is played, find and play Battleground Cinderella. While Fairy Godmother is in play, only fate cards to move allies. The Prince. When the Prince is revealed, you may immediately play him to the ballroom even if it is locked. He's a special card. He is not a hero. He is only a prince. So cards that affect heroes do not affect him. So it's actually kind of neat. It's a new card type. Jacques. When Jacques is played or moved, discard one item from his new location. Gus. When Gus is in play, all item cards cost +2 power. Ball Gown Cinderella. Discard Cinderella to play Ball Gown Cinderella. While Ball Gown Cinderella is in play, no allies may enter the ballroom. So that means you can't move your Gisela and Anastasia. This card cannot be trapped. When Ball Gown Cinderella is defeated, find both glass slippers and play them. Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. Remove a trapped token from any hero, then move that hero to a new location. Got 3 of those. Here's the glass slippers. So we have this glass slipper does not attach to a hero and must be played to the castle. Lady Tremaine cannot win the game while a glass slipper is in her realm. So this comes in, and the reason why they specify it doesn't attach to anyone is because if it attaches, that means you can defeat that hero, but there's no defeating in this one. But actually, I also love the fact that it's the same effect, but it's 2 different artwork. I love that they did that, because it represents there being 2 different glass slippers. Sweet Nightingale. Move an ally to any location. Basically move them back, because they can only move 1 space at a time. So this could definitely mess with someone. We have Bruno. When Bruno is played or moved, move Lucifer to his location. Get Lucifer out of the way. Alright, that was Cinderella. And then lastly, we have the Horned King. So the other game, if you've seen out there, I'm trying to open this, is they do have Villainous Marvel. Unfortunately, it's not compatible with this game. At least not without messing with the rules. The overall concept and gameplay is the exact same. You have the board. They each have their own different challenges they have to do. The 2 big differences with the Villainous one, or the Marvel one, and the Disney one is the Marvel one has a shared fate deck that when you play cards, you can fate any other player instead of just, picking one player to fate. But some of the cards you play are added from like a hero deck. So if you're against Thanos, you had Thanos' cards. Some hurt him more than it would hurt somebody else. Other ones are just generic ones. And there's a lot more stuff where you're moving cards from your realm to other players' realms. So the Disney one is essentially, I'm playing my movie, they're playing their movie, he's playing his movie, and that's how each player is doing. The Marvel one, everyone's like, no, we're all in the same world. Like, I might be on, it could be like Thanos is in space working on his goal, and Loki's in Asgard working on his goal, or Ultron's on Earth working on his goal. I said Loki even though he's not in the game. But you have 2 people essentially in different parts of Earth working on their goals, and then someone can send the Avengers in to mess with them, or you might go to their area to manipulate or take something from their area or do something. So that's the big difference. You interact with each other a lot more versus this game where you basically play your own board except the fate cards, and the fate cards, they only affect whatever player. This one you can be trading fate cards around. So it's a lot more of an interactive game, but I think it also kind of makes it a little bit more of a challenging game. Alright, so here we have the Horned King, we have the Black Cauldron, we have some little dragons, we have some horns, we have a castle mountain, and a cup. And I don't know if I've ever seen Black Cauldron, to be 100% honest. I know of it, and if I've seen it, I was a little kid. I have not seen it as an adult, for sure. So we have a creeper. When using a Vanquish action, do not discard creeper. Instead, moving to Horned King's location. Interesting. So you get keep around anything where you don't have to discard your guy. Oh, here's the little dragons we saw in the back. The Gwanks. When performing a Vanquish action, they may be used to defeat a hero at your location or an adjacent location. So that's always a cool effect. Because normally you can only defeat whoever's right in front of you. They can defeat one guy on either side. So that definitely makes them a lot more viable. There's 2 of them, one to represent each one. Horned King's Henchmen. No additional abilities, but they have 3. We got a couple of those. We have some guard dogs. Gain 1 strength if at a location with another ally. So you get stronger if he's teamed up with someone. Here are the Culdron Born, who are the guys we need to have out. So they cost 0. But Culdron Born may only be played when the power of the Black Cauldron is showing. Do not discard if using a Vanquish action. So once these guys come out, they're going to be crazy because they cost 6. They don't get discarded and they're vanquished. But you have to play them for free, but you can play them under super specific actions. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 for the 4 locations. So you don't have a lot of extra. You only have 1 extra sitting in your deck. Here are the Ancient Soldiers, which have 3. But they have the ability to use the Activate ability, which there are none on his board otherwise. And there's also 5 of those. We have Visions. Gain power equal to the number of heroes in your realm. So this could be good or bad, depending on how quickly people are trying to hurt you and they're playing more heroes. You could gain a lot of power quick. Here we have Captured. Draw 3 cards. Here it is. Show me the Black Cauldron. Show me the Black Cauldron. Family Feud reference. Either claim the Black Cauldron or gain 3 power. Some options. Because if you already have the Black Cauldron claimed, no point to claiming it a second time. We got you now, Pig Keeper. Either find and play Heng Weng, or defeat a hero with a strength of 1. We have made a bargain. Either shuffle your villain discard pile back in your deck, or pay 3 additional power to discard Darwin and claim the Black Cauldron. Gives you some options. Our hour has arrived. Flip the Black Cauldron to the power of the Black Cauldron. That's a free card. Here's his conditions. Only moments away from victory. During their turn, if another player plays an item, you may play only moments away to play an item for 0. So that could definitely be helpful. Where's one of his item cards? His soldiers that cost 3 are all his item cards. So he's going to play those for free just because someone else played an item. So he's only got that 1 condition though. So he's kind of like Gaston in that sense. But that is a very powerful one for his. So before we look at the fates, here's his Black Cauldron. Now, it's a relic card. It's a little bit thicker. It's on cardboard. Because it does not get shuffled into the deck. I think Mother Gothel also has one like this, except it's an ally card for Rapunzel. And Ragadan also has a thicker card, but his is actually an alternate objective card, depending on which form he has. So it's kind of a neat extra thing they started doing in here. So we have the Black Cauldron. At the start of your turn, discard 1 Culdron Born from any location. So those guys, you need to have 5 of them out to win. But while this is out, if it's not flipped, even if you have them all, you're going to have to keep discarding them. So you do not want this side up. Otherwise, you're never going to get those guys out, and they cost, they're hard to get out. So you can activate, so you play your Ancient Soldiers to gain your Activate ability. You can use your Activate to flip the power to the Black Cauldron, unless you use another thing. Otherwise, you have to keep discarding these guys. And although they don't cost anything to play, you can only play them when the power is flipped over. So to play them, this is how you play them. Power of the Black Cauldron. On your turn, before you move, you may pay 2 powers to replace an Ancient Soldier in play with a Cauldron born from your hand. You may only do this once per turn. So, you get Ancient Soldiers out, then you activate their ability to flip this over, and then each turn you can pay 2 to start replacing them. And once this is flipped over, you can keep replacing them unless something else flips it back over. And there's kind of the gamble, because if you immediately Ancient Soldier, next turn, activate it, then you go ahead and on your next turn, you turn them into a Cauldron born, then one of the other players plays a Fate card that flips this back over. Now at the beginning of your turn, you have to discard your Cauldron born, which means you also lost your Ancient one, which sets you back to 0. So, because you have no way of flipping it back over. So you might want to try and play as many Ancient ones as you can, and then, always have one extra sitting around so you can at least try and flip this back over as soon as you can. You'll still take the 1 point. You'll probably still lose one of your Cauldron born, but at least you're not I have 3 Cauldron born out. Then it gets flipped over and you have no way of flipping that back over. And then just every turn you're slowly losing your cards. Here are our Fate cards. We have Taran. Gain 1 strength for every other hero at Taran's location. Hengwen. When Hengwen is played, the Horn King cannot play effect cards. When Hengwen is vanquished, the Horn King claims the Black Cauldron. Princess Eloini? I do not know these names. All other heroes in the Horn King's realm gain 1 strength. Oh boy. Felwegler Flam. When he is played, move all allies to his location. So that can kind of suck, because then they put all the things on the same spot. Are the Cauldron born considered allies? Yep, so if they move all those guys to 1 spot, then you don't have 1 in each place. Fairy Folk. Ancient Soldiers cannot be played to this location. Gertie. When Gertie is defeated in a Vanquish action, shuffle him back into the Horn King's Fate deck. Dolly. When Dolly is played, you may move each hero in the Horn King's realm to any other location. The Witches of Morva. When the Witches of Morva are played, the Horn King must immediately either lose 2 power or discard 2 cards from his hand. Ooh. Aha, this is Darwin, the Sword. When Darwin is played, attach it to a hero. When performing a Vanquish action against a hero, at least 2 allies must be used. Reunited. Search the Horn King's Fate discard pile for a hero and play it. Discard pile. Search the discard pile and play a hero from it. Oh boy, why was I not reading that? I believe in you. The Horn King must discard his hand, then draw 3 cards from the villain deck. So that kind of sucks, resetting your hand. Gertie's Sacrifice. If the power of the Black Cauldron is face up, flip it over. Gertie's Happy Day. Shuffle all discarded Fate cards into the Horn King's Fate deck, draw 2 new Fate, and play them both. Oh boy, that could really suck. There's the Horn King's deck. I do want to look at one other card quick. Either find and play Hangwing or defeat a hero. Okay, I get it. So it lets you pull him back. Alright. Interesting. So I don't think you start with the Black Cauldron in play. Alright. First you must clean the Black Cauldron. Once in your possession, you must power the Black Cauldron. Okay, the Black Cauldron is a special type. Set the Cauldron tile to the side of your room. Once you claim it, set it above your portrait with the board showing. You must have the Black Cauldron win. You cannot lose it once you claim it. So that's the thing. You don't even start with that and play. You have to play a card to claim it first. And then you get it. So, alright. That is all I have for this one. This is, again, Villainous, Despicable Plots. Adding the 3 new characters. So, again, I love this game series. It's really fun. Easy to get other people into. It's kind of nice because you're playing your own little decks. So, I found it really fun when I'm playing with other people and they're like, oh, I'm not really sure what I should be doing, or I'm kind of confused. I don't have an issue helping someone else. They're like, hey, play your hand down. Let me see what you have. Let's see what your options are. Because whatever I'm having them do on their turn is, yes, it's helping them win, potentially. I don't usually just tell them, do this, do that. I'm like, well, here's your options. You need to do this, or maybe you do this. Maybe you don't need this. I try and help them out. Which what I love about this game is because I'm doing my thing on my board, they're doing their thing on their board. So even if I'm helping them out, yes, I'm helping someone else win. But I look at it as if I was playing like let's just say I was playing against 3 players that all knew exactly how to play the deck, and I didn't have to help anybody else, I'm gonna have a challenge. Because they know exactly what they need to be doing, how to be playing. If I'm playing with myself and 2 other players that aren't really sure on what to be doing, I already have an advantage there, because if I don't help them and they're not playing cards or doing stuff the way they're supposed to be doing, I'm going to win. It reminds me of watching when this game was first coming out and I was watching a gameplay video. One player was playing Jafar, and they were losing terribly because they're basically every turn they're like, oh, I don't have a card I can really play. I'll go here, I'll gain some power, but I don't really have anything to play. And they were going turn after turn without playing cards because either they just determined like their cards were costing too much, or they just decided they weren't meeting the right conditions. Maybe they realized their cards they needed to do stuff, but they didn't have the right conditions to do it, but they just kept not doing anything. And ultimately, they lost terribly compared to everybody else because they weren't doing anything. Where what they should have been doing was discarding cards. They're like, I can't use this, this doesn't help me. Discard 3 cards, draw 3 new cards, get a new hand. And that's the thing, when I'm playing with somebody else, I'll point that out. If they go a turn and they don't play anything, I'll be like, wait. Why did you move to a space that lets you play a card, or lets you play 2 cards, and you didn't play anything? They're like, oh, I just got 3 power. I'm like, yeah, but you already had 3 powers. Now you have 6. What do you have that costs more than 6? I try and help them out, because I don't want someone to lose because they're playing it wrong, or they're not doing what they're supposed to do, because that's not fun. But that's what I love about this game, because although it is versus against each other, since you're playing you're playing your own field, I don't feel like it's any hindrance to help somebody else, because you're giving them ideas or helping them play better, which will make your game more fun, versus you just outright winning because nobody's doing anything. And on the other hand, I played like one of the first games I played with 3 other people. And they're not super big board gamers, so like, it was a brand new game. Like, I immediately grasped on the concepts of the game because I've been playing. I was playing Prince John, whose goal, and I played him on purpose because he's the easiest to figure out. Just gain 20 power. So all I essentially had to do is go to a thing that gave me power, not play a ton of my big cards if I don't have to, except when they would gain me more power somehow. And I did that because in that way I could kind of sit back and I didn't have a hard concept to figure out what I was trying to do. while helping everybody else. But it was also, the other thing is, nobody was really paying attention to what I was doing. You know, and I could have just sat there and been completely quiet and just been like, yep, yep. But like when I was getting close to winning, I'd be like, hey guys, just so you know, I'm halfway to winning, or I'm like 2 turns away from winning. So you guys need to fate me if you don't want to lose. Like, that way I didn't, feel abusive playing. Anywho, that's enough of me rambling about that. This is Disney Villainous, Despicable Plots. I hope they keep making this. I hope they make the expansion of the Marvel one. I will definitely show you guys more, and hopefully I'll get some gameplay videos out. See you later. Bye.